The battle of wizards and warriors continues with iron swords. The evil wizard Malkill will take the shape of the earth, wind, water, and fire. Farewell! The fate of the world is in your hands!
You're listening to the Piercing Wizard podcast, and I'm your host, Ryan Willett. I'm a professional body piercer with 20 years experience. I travel around the world teaching technique and safety classes, and I'm a member of the Association of Professional Piercers. Listen in as I talk to my friends and colleagues about our industry so we can all stay sharp. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show, or welcome if you haven't heard it before. This week's interview is with Luis Garcia. We sat down a little bit in Brazil a few weeks ago. We talked about how the GEP conference went, and we talked about his new body jewelry line, Singularity. He's got some pretty cool gold end pieces. You can check him out online on his Instagram. He talks a little bit more about that. Tomorrow, I've got a big interview with the New Hampshire Department of Health. They're starting a new 3-practitioner panel in the state, body piercers and tattooers. I think they're trying to get some input on regulations, maybe some updates. I sent in a resume a few weeks ago, and tomorrow is my interview. I'm a little bit nervous for that. I'm pretty confident that I have a decent shot at it, so we'll see how it goes. Next week, you can either hear me happy and triumphant, or you can hear me all bummed out about how I didn't make it onto it. I'm just about getting ready to leave for my first trip of my fall teaching tour. I'll be going to Iceland for a couple of days, and then I'll be in the UK teaching at the UK APP conference. I've got an interview scheduled within the next few days with Charlie Remy-Lebeau. She's going to be talking about the UK APP conference. She's one of the board members for that group. My classes are working out pretty good for it. I'm going to be doing my tongue piercing class again that I did at the APP conference in Vegas. I guess that got good reviews, and they want me to do it there. I'm also going to be teaching a class on different freehand techniques. I've been trying to pull together some videos to show the different ways you can use a needle without the aid of extra tools, things like that. And I believe I'll also be involved in a roundtable about different needle bending techniques. For any piercers out there who just use a straight needle, it can really change up your techniques, putting different bends on it, a U bend, a V bend, the umbrella kind of looking bend. Then after that, I've got Camp APP in Georgia. I'll actually be doing a members-only class on genital beading, and then I'll be straight from there going to the BMXNet conference in Germany. There I haven't exactly decided on what classes I'll be teaching yet. I might do the tongue class again. That seems to get really positive feedback. I'll definitely be doing some sort of a scarification class, and I think maybe a jewelry sales techniques class. That is something that's kind of overlooked in a lot of different markets. If you want to be able to transition from maybe not so great jewelry into nicer jewelry, you have to be able to sell it to your clients. And there's a lot of different things that go into that. The shop presentation and how you manage your inventory, how you set up your displays, things like that. So I'd be happy to teach that class again if it's something they seem to be interested in. So before we get into this week's interview, I just want to hit one question that came to me through the mailbox. All right, so I've got a message here from Rebecca. Thanks for submitting, and thanks for listening to the show. It says, I'm very interested in becoming a piercer, and I've been trying to figure out the best way to go about it. I've taken first aid and CPR, and I'm looking for an apprenticeship. I'm confused about how to go about doing that. How does one go about asking for an apprenticeship? Do you have to pay for it? I read an article that said that someone in an apprenticeship is sent to California for an expensive class. Is that normal? So I think you're talking about the Fakir intensives. That's something we've talked about on the show in the past. Jeff Saunders, one of our guests and the current APP president, is one of their main instructors. That's great. It's kind of like a primer to an apprenticeship. Depending on the level, they have different levels of classes, but I think the one that you're probably talking about is more of their primer course. It kind of sets people up to, these are skills that you're going to want to learn when you're in an apprenticeship. But when it comes to the apprenticeship itself, it's really difficult to give you a firm answer because things can vary so much from one shop to another. Most apprenticeships should not cost you money. Back in the 90s, back in the 80s, and maybe even the early 2000s, and maybe even, unfortunately, some places today, people kind of see that as a source of revenue for the shop. So they might say, sure, I'll charge you $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 to teach you how to quote unquote be a piercer or be a tattooer or be a, whatever you want to be. And they're certainly showing you some skills. They might be showing you just enough to get by maybe working in that studio, but they're not really teaching you the foundations, like why you're doing the things. You're just kind of going through the motions that they show you. Maybe it's outdated information. Maybe you don't really have the foundation that you need to be able to get a job somewhere else or be able to kind of move up the chain or increase your skill without, basically kind of restarting your training. So I've met a lot of people who are really desperate to break into the industry, and sometimes they're kind of taken advantage of, as far as like work hours or money, things like that. Sometimes apprenticeships will be kind of like money neutral. You're not paying for it, but you're also not getting paid for it. So, that depends on the shop. Some shops you work it off. You go in, you empty trash, you answer the phone, and then they start teaching you things. In my studio, my current apprentice, Evan, my most recent apprentice, Evan, he's a fully licensed piercer now. I don't want to kind of sell him short. Basically, he started out as a counter person, and he was getting paid for his counter shifts. And then his piercing education was kind of like an internship, basically. So he'd be getting paid, X amount for X amount of hours while he was handling the desk and trash and sterilization and things like that. And I was teaching him a lot of foundational information. This is why we sterilize. These are the things that go into sterilization. These are the different health and safety concerns. I was giving him a lot of homework, take these home and read them, my old conference notes, conference handouts, anatomy textbooks, things like that. But then he was coming in on his off hours for actual like shadowing, watching me do piercings, working over like different drills about like, bend this captive bead ring, open and close 100 times, pop the bead in with your eyes closed, get that muscle memory so you can just like feel your way through it so you don't have to like focus so much on like the little things, the foundational stuff. He wasn't getting paid for those hours, but he was getting paid for his like work hours. And then as he started to transition over into client services, that's something he was also getting paid for. And now as a body piercer, he's getting paid and he's getting raises and things like that as he goes and progresses through the shop. So, ideally that would be, something you would have, you would be getting paid for your time. Maybe there is a certain period where you're kind of like putting in a little bit of time for free, but you shouldn't be getting abused. It shouldn't be one of those things where you're just kind of like an indentured servant for years on end to maybe learn a little bit about body piercing. So be cautious, research the people, make sure that someone's qualified to actually apprentice you, like just because someone's been piercing for 10 years doesn't mean they're qualified to teach somebody. Going back to Jeff, he spent a lot of time and effort actually putting together apprenticeship guidelines that were adopted by the APP. You can probably find those on the APP website. You can kind of read about the ideal situation, how you would want to learn, the structure that would go into it, the important information that you need before you start taking a needle and pushing it through somebody. So best of luck to you, Rebecca. I hope you find a good apprenticeship. Send me another email if you want. Let me know what area you're in. Maybe I can kind of point you in the direction of a shop you can trust. And keep the questions coming. So up next is going to be our interview with Luis Garcia, and hope you enjoy it. Okay, so with me again is Luis Garcia, and currently we're in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And what's the best way to pronounce this conference? Is it just GEP Congresso or?
Yeah, Primero Congreso de GEP.
Okay, it sounds better when you say it.
Yeah, well, sorry, Latin stuff. Even though I don't speak Portuguese, can understand it pretty good after about a week, but it's definitely way different than Spanish. So learning curve.
Yeah. So what did you take away from the conference? How did it go for you?
The conference was great. It's the first time they've done something on this level, and it does seem like everyone was just like really into getting the learning experience. They were really grateful. To be able to, have that experience and get this level of education that they consider, it's funny, they consider it so much more above what they have, but I mean, they have piercers like Andre Fernandez, who put this together, who's an amazing host, by the way, and a really hard worker. This is seeing what he's done has been completely insane and like above and beyond what most people would do. Like, it's crazy, and he's a super great human being and just busted his butt to get this done and did a great job.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier with Amelia, and you can have that big army of people that are willing to volunteer, but unless you have that one person that kind of sparks everybody's like passion,
exactly,
it's never really going to come off like something like this. Like this seemed like it was a pretty special event.
Yeah, it was. I think it went over really well. Yeah, everyone just really seemed to really just enjoy the fact that they got to, see, what they consider, I guess they look up to us, looking at us online and everything. So, they were all really into it, even with a little bit of a language barrier.
Yeah.
Even with Spanish, it's funny, people assume, oh, yeah, it's similar, but it's like every third word is similar, and then a lot of stuff is pronounced different. So, we still had to do translation, obviously, even with me doing it in Spanish. I speak really fast Spanish, being a Cuban American, so it definitely, like, some people asked me to slow down, and we had to get some people to still translate sometimes. But they were just super appreciative, like everyone that I encountered.
Yeah, it seemed that everybody got really good responses off of their classes. A lot of people came up to me and Jeff and you after the classes and said like how happy they were with it and how well the information came across. Even with the language barrier, people really seemed to get it, which was great.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
What did you think of the tattoo show side of it? Like how crazy that was?
It's pretty crazy. So, I mean, I don't really do tattoo conventions much anymore. It's just like too much for me, and this is like above and beyond. Like, just so the people listening to this, so they have 2-story booths that are all glass encased.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the first booths when we came in. The conference is happening at the same time as the tattoo convention here, which is called Tattoo Week, but it's not a week; it's only a weekend. And they were building the booths, and I was like, "Is that a 2-story tall?"
2-story
booth?
shop, and then there was the one with the black marble tile flooring.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that I think was a motorcycle booth, and they had like plants and water and all this crazy stuff. It definitely was way crazier than what I've seen at any other American
I've never seen anything even remotely close to it.
It's got to be insanely expensive to have those booths for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I feel like they're just trying to kind of establish themselves as like top dog, like kind of showing off to the other booths.
For sure. I mean, as humans, we tend to do that no matter what.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It was crazy to see, and it's just a huge convention floor. And they had a stage and like bands playing and all kinds of stuff. So it was pretty crazy to see that side of it. From the little bit from going down there to get food and stuff. It wasn't like for those of you listening at home, the conference was in the same area, but not like down on the tattoo convention floor.
Yeah,
It was
in like a meeting room up
that you overlooked the tattoo convention.
Yeah, and I think they said they had 75,000 people through the door on Saturday.
That's a lot of people, and it didn't look packed. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's how big it was.
Yeah, I mean, like, as a comparison, like, I've been to the Philly show, and this one was at least 3 times bigger than the Philly show, which is one of the biggest ones in the States.
Yeah, and the Philly one gets really packed, but this was way more floor space.
Yeah.
Like, they even had, like, it's been a while since I've been to a convention, but, like, they had, like, a kiddie play area for people, like, from bouncy houses.
I really wanted to go on that trampoline.
And stuff, and a trampoline.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just crazy, the difference.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's a cultural difference or anything, but just, I think mainly also because it's Brazil. And Brazil is an island all its own. People think, oh, South America. It's the only country that doesn't speak Spanish in South America. And a lot of people here don't speak Spanish. A lot of people don't really understand Spanish.
Yeah.
So they're an island all of their own. So it's like they make this big thing about it.
Yeah.
And it's a massive country. Like, it's a huge country. So, yeah, it's just, I think that's probably one of the reasons of it. I'm just guessing. But
I could see this conference really growing a lot. I mean, if this was only the first one and he had, what did he say, 130 attendees?
I think 130 total, of people here. So it's amazing, and I think it could easily grow. You know, people get the gumption from coming the first time, and, I'm looking forward to, I'm going to try and help them out for next year. To get some help with setting everything up, so hopefully it'll be good to see it grow. I think Brazil needs something like this, especially because of the whole language barrier. A lot of the people here have gone to LBP, Latino American Body Piercing Association conference, but they don't speak Spanish. And it definitely like helps them have their own thing and something they can build on.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed at other conferences there's always that the Brazilian contingent is always there. And I mean, it's usually Andre. Representing.
Yeah, Andre. But Andre, he speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
He can do English at this point.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, but his Spanish is perfect. I mean, he lived in Spain for a while.
Yeah.
So, it definitely helps. Because the first, I think it was, Rafa, the first time he was there, it was either I think it was Rafa. Like didn't speak a lick of Spanish. And English was really rough the first time he was at APP conference.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like it's hard. This will make it easier for them to get good information.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show like how much they care, though, because even if they have to struggle so much with language barrier, they're still flying from Brazil to the States just because that's their best shot at the time, that was their best shot at education.
And even LBP, like it's a question of perspective, I think, with like affordability. Like and I talked about this, I think, the last time when we spoke about international stuff. We tend to take a lot of things for granted.
Yeah.
And sure, like a trip to Vegas can seem expensive, but for these people, it's like insane. Yeah. I mean, even for us to come down here, it's still a chunk of change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you think about like expensive for someone in the U.S. to go to Vegas, it's like, oh, it's a $500 flight and this and that, and it's like, well, these guys have to get like visas and they have to drop like $1,000 on their flight, let alone
at least, yeah,
all their accommodation and everything.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with jewelry and stuff. Like, something like with Statum, they gave away a Statum at the dinner here, and it's like it's a life-changing thing for a piercer who can find it hard to afford stuff in the States.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, getting a Statum here is impossible. I think
because now there's like just two in the whole country.
Two in the whole country, with Andre being the one with the first one.
Yeah.
So, and it's a lot of people take it for granted. Like, I think it's like I said the last time, it's always something that kind of grounds me, is seeing that's like, okay, I can get bitchy about stuff and get whiny about stuff, but like, damn it, like, like what you live in, like, you take you're surrounded by all the stuff that you're so used to, and then you see these people have to work so much harder.
Who was it that won the anodizer? Was it Igor?
I think so.
Yeah, and he like broke down crying, winning an anodizer, and it's
which
like
to us is like whatever.
Oh, you don't have 4 anodizers?
Yeah. I've got one and I don't use it. It's like locked away. So.
I loved it when for like the first 3 months I had it, I was like, everything's going to be purple or blue or bronze or whatever. Now it's just like, I don't really want to anodize your jewelry.
Yeah. I just order it anodized. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you see these things, and again, seeing stuff like that at LBP, or, it's just, it's eye-opening, I think. I think it helps put things into perspective on, while things can get tough for us, it's definitely tougher in a lot of the rest of the world. Or even just like, so here, I'll tell a funny story. Luis Garcia had his phone stolen from him down here, and it's something as simple as, they had mentioned to be careful and stuff, but this was literally in front of the hotel. Not even stepping off. It was on the front step of the hotel, and I'm just on my phone smoking a cigarette, and I was by myself, and this dude just riding his bike by, just grabbed it and took off. And it's like, you're so not used to that. Like, we have crime and stuff in the States.
Not that brazen.
And it's just like, and we did the Find My iPhone thing, and here they have an area called Cracolandia, which is pretty much Crackland, which sounds funny. It is kind of funny in concept of the thought, but that's where the phone ended up, because it's like not super far away for someone on a bike, and the cops refuse to go in there. They refuse to go in there. They're like, nope, if you track it and it comes out of there, then we could maybe recover it. But we're not going there. So it's a place that the cops won't even go, where the locals here joke that it's literally like The Walking Dead. And we have seen some, some characters around that, it's pretty much like that bad that it's like The Walking Dead. So, we have crime and we have inner cities and stuff like that, but this is like a whole other world. And I've been to Mexico City, I feel comfortable in Mexico City, even though there is a lot of crime there. And, I've been to cities in Europe, and I've been to plenty of bad neighborhoods in the States. And this is just definitely a wake-up call. Like, holy crap. And then I'm talking to other people, like Andre's girlfriend, Atachi, she's had 4 iPhones stolen from her. Pretty much very similar way. At one time, she was held at gunpoint. So, very similar, just walking on the street and just boom. Amelia said the same thing. She was just, walking. She was at a bar waiting for her friend to come to the bar, and she was just talking into it, and then boop, just got on a bike, just boop, grabbed it and ran away. And it's a super common thing here. It's like, and what's funny is like, I mean, not funny, but like again for us, it's like phones, iPhones, whatever. And yeah, I'm bummed. I'm gonna have to buy pretty much because I'm going to Buenos Aires from here, so I'm gonna not have a phone for another week and a half. Because when I talk to Tachi, like we think, oh man, yeah, these are expensive, and you pay it's like $1,000 or so for like the full top of the line one. They're $3,000 here with the exchange. There's 6,000 Raz. So
really,
so yeah,
that's nuts.
$3,000. The Tachi's the one that got stolen. She bought in.
So
Vegas.
That's like a used car, basically.
Yeah.
Getting your phone stolen.
Exactly. So like that's the thing. Like that's the other thing that we take for granted. Is just we get stuff so easily there because we don't have to deal with that level of import tax and everything.
Yeah.
So it puts things into perspective. When she told me, like I expected they'd be more expensive.
Yeah.
It usually is outside of the country, but. Like, when she told me that, and I was like, holy shit, because my husband was like, oh, were you just going to buy a new phone down there? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Not that it would work, because there's no AT&T down here, and they lock that shit, but, yeah, I'm not paying no $3,000,
Yeah,
so.
and, like, well, you can tell with the attendees, too, having a jewelry company like Industrial Strength come and vend here is a huge deal for them, because they might not have ever been able to see it in person before.
Yeah, and winning that prize, too.
Yeah.
Like, Industrial Strength, I think it was it $1,500?
Something like that,
$1,500 US dollars worth of jewelry, and that's, like...
Huge here.
That's huge here.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the exchange rate is, like, 3 times, so that's, like, it's like 3,000, maybe $200, like reals to them. That's just, and that's an insane amount of money to them. Like, it's there's a lot of poverty down here, and a lot of piercers in the States are like, oh, it's hard to make my market and stuff. And yeah, sure, you can build something, but like, look at how long Andre has been in the industry.
Yeah,
he's like slowly done this, and and he has other businesses as well. He has a barbershop as well. So it's like. It's just the difference in the level of doing it, and they have like help. I mean, they have at least they have like biometal that can they can get implant grade stuff, and then Javier distributes Painful Pleasures down here. So which for a lot of people in the States might not be great jewelry, but it's like great stuff for them down here. They can get implant grade internally threaded stuff, and it's somewhat affordable to them. And even with gold, like they have Dinamica down here, which is a relatively newer company. Well, it's not newer in Brazil; they've been around for a while. But even then, with they've got they have some options. They definitely have some options down here, so it's great.
Yeah, it's cool. So, what were the classes you taught? You taught your basic ear piercing, and then your ear project class.
The ear beauty and simplicity, and the ear beauty and complexity.
Yeah. How do you feel like they came across?
I think they came across really good.
Yeah.
The simplicity one, I think, went really great. I think the complexity one went really great, but it was the day after my phone was stolen, and I was still pretty bummed.
Yeah.
So I wasn't up to my normal charismatic self.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything about it to anyone, but Andres, introduced it and said everyone, so I think they were understanding of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were really like, I'm so sorry, I'm so ashamed, about this. And I'm like, I was bummed for a day, and bummed for about a day and a half. And then, you know what, I'm alive. I didn't get held at gunpoint.
Yeah.
I didn't get stabbed or anything. Who knows if I would have tried, I think, and it's like, oh, I could have maybe grabbed my phone back
but
if I hadn't had
what
that
if he had a knife?
freeze.
What if he had a gun?
What if he had to, what if he had a knife or anything like that? So yeah, it's one of those things where, you know what, it's a material thing, I could replace it.
Yeah.
Maybe being slightly disconnected, because I do still have my laptop and stuff, but is a little good for me. So yeah, it's just one of those situations. But the classes I think they went really well.
Yeah.
Your class was really well received. Salah's class, all the classes were great.
I was really happy with pretty much everything. What I did and what I sat in on. It seemed really well done, really well thought out. It also shows me some of the people that come to the non-US APP conferences are really good instructors with really awesome presentations.
Yes. Salah's was great. Salah's was even, and Gladys's too, just well put together, well thought out. Yeah. Yeah. There's, and that's the way it should be. There needs to be more instructors, more global instructors putting out a good product. And Salah's was just really Salah's was a production, well produced. The way he did it.
You can tell that he really obsesses over it.
That's Salah.
Yeah.
God damn you, Salah. Showing us up.
I got an interview with him too.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Good.
Do you feel like because you've taught that class a few times at a few different conferences. Yeah. Do you feel like you get the same kinds of questions, or do you feel like different markets have different questions about that material?
I think in the States it's different. I find the questions were very similar to stuff I got at LBP, just because of the difference in the industry and the level of industry, for a lack of a better way to put it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely like there in the States you get a lot more people not necessarily asking questions but critiquing.
Right.
And I mean, and that's fine. I don't care. But here there were definitely like people asking, definitely wanting the information and asking
more like how rather than why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, there's definitely a difference, but I still find it similar to LBP just because I think it's both at a similar level in that sense, way newer organizations. So the LBP's been around now, 5 years?
Yeah, I think this next one's going to be their 5th conference.
So, and they had the APP conferences down there for a little bit before then. So this is definitely like newer here, but they have access to the internet and they have their own groups and forums. And Andres has been doing the GEP thing, came from him trying to do like weekend, like Sunday get-togethers with piercers and stuff that he's been doing for a little while.
It kind of seems like that's sort of how the UK group got started too. Just casual get-togethers, small groups. Let's just talk about the industry, and then it kind of turned into like a conference.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's very similar. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think it's needed. Like I was talking with Mauricio with Banana, and he definitely was saying the same thing, that it was something just really needed. And
yeah.
He's from Chile, so it's definitely like it. And even though it seems close, it's really not close. So it's he was just been pushing for more South American stuff, because even LAP, it's in Mexico. Mexico's Central America and really close to the United States.
Yeah.
This is the way opposite end. Like we are
Southern Hemisphere.
Exactly. Yeah.
So toilets flush backwards and everything.
Apparently. I don't pay attention to toilets, but that's what everyone says. So I'll have to pay attention before I leave, and then pay attention when I get back to see if it's true.
Yeah, it was also really interesting, like, leaving the States, and it's, July, and it's summer, and then you come here, and it's like, it's winter here.
And I was so stoked, because it's winter here is still, like, totally, like, I'm in a tank top right now.
Yeah.
And I could be outside and not be cold, and, like, I have the air conditioner on in the room, and everyone else is like, I'm freezing, and I'm like, this is great.
It's like fall weather.
And, this is still, like, not quite fall weather for Philly, but I'm going to go to Buenos Aires, which I think is at a higher altitude, because they're in, like, the 60s max and 50s.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked. Like, I might wear a hoodie.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd probably still wear shorts even though I bought jeans.
Bundling up for you is just wearing like a t-shirt.
But bundling up for me is maybe if I'm really cold I'll wear a hoodie.
Yeah.
Because I'm fat and I'm an easy back oven. So Ryan had to move away from me in one of the classes because the room was hot with so many people in there, and I create my own heat like an oven.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, you could put like an egg in your pocket and you'd have like a boiled egg by the end of the day.
Nice. That probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
You're launching your own jewelry line lately. How's that going for you?
So we've had some hiccups, but pretty much for those of you at home, I had Rata, who is the international distributor for Dinamica. Dinamica is a Brazilian gold jewelry company. And he had known them, so he approached them initially about having his own jewelry line and being international distributor for them, and he would handle all the international stuff. So he approached me and asked me about doing my own jewelry line, and I was like, sure. So I did some scribbles and sent them to him, and he sent them to Junior, who is the jewelry maker, the head jewelry maker, the owner of Dinamica, and we worked on some stuff, and it came to fruition as Singularity, which is what I'm calling the jewelry line. And everything it was a process, and we went back and forth on changing some stuff and got the designs down, and we were supposed to unveil in Vegas at APP, and some problems with customs. Pretty much they ended up sending Rata and Laura from Dinamica International. They sent them back to Argentina, seized all the jewelry. So we had that hiccup there, unfortunately, so that was kind of a bummer. And I think it would have definitely done well had we have gone there. My thought process behind it was I wanted to do something different. Like, there's a lot of pretty jewelry out there, a lot of pretty gold jewelry out there, but I just wanted to do something different. A lot of people copy each other's designs, and there's always that, like, me, and they copied this, and they copied that. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing anything like what anyone else was doing. And, like,
it's definitely so different.
I take that as a compliment. and I definitely had to scrap a couple designs just because I didn't realize I made like one clicker design, and I was like, and I showed some friends, and they're like, oh, this person makes that, and I'm like, God damn it, all right, throw that away. We're not going to do that because I don't want to do that. So yeah, I just my thought process on it is to have a different kind of design with a different feel and have overlays like instead of settings.
Well, that's why I think it's so unique, because all the other stuff from all the other gold companies, it's really, when you boil it down to it, it's a bezel setting or a prong setting with some stuff around it.
Yeah.
And then yours is like this whole different, the way the stone is like wrapped by the gold is this completely different look.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be, once I started playing with designs, I wanted it to be visible from the side. So you have a piece that you have a design on the front, you look at it from the top, you look at it as one look. You look at it from all the other areas around the perimeter, and it can be several different looks. And that was my thought process on it. And plus, like, I'm a nerd, so I wanted to do some, like, sci-fi influenced stuff, which is where a lot of my ideas came from.
Yeah.
Which is what I did with my advertising campaign that unfortunately ended, like, kind of just, like, because of the whole APP thing. But, I mean, I got good responses from the designs from a lot of people. Some people poo-pooed it, which is going to happen or whatever. But I'm really happy with the results. I had gotten, some of being so far away in the United States, I had gotten only a few to check out beforehand, before going to Vegas, and now I just first got my first full run of them to take back with me to the shop, and I literally got tears in my eyes looking at it to see this thing that we've been working on for a while, and there were some issues, like I wasn't happy with the polish at one point, so we talked, and we had to lift the price a little bit up to compensate for the the polish. The inside of the setting is completely polished before the stone is set.
Okay.
So, and then, it took a little bit for me to get comfortable with the 16 gauge threading, so I pulled that initially from anyone. We've had some orders, and I just told everyone we're going to hold off on 16 gauge for right now. It's pretty much, for the people at home, it's threaded ends, all made with natural cabochon stones, so smooth stones, not facet cuts, and they're all 4mm, and they're available in 14 gauge, 16 gauge, and then in universal threadless. So we had to hold back on the 16 gauge. I'm happier with it now. So, it's something that we had to work on. And actually, I already talked with Junior, and we're going to change the way we do it. So it should definitely get better once we work out on those changes anyway, overall. But, I mean,
still, like a steel thread now instead of a
that's what
thread?
we're looking at, is a steel thread, and then we're going to solder it to the gold. So which other companies do as well. So, which is different for them down here. It's completely, when I was talking with Junior about it, it's the first time anything like that's been in South America. So it should be good. And I really just think it's a cost-effective way, where, and if you're thinking about the threading and you have to keep replacing threading or threads break, you're losing that gold, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up. If it happens too much. So, it should end up way cheaper even with importing them. So, or in my case, exporting them to them. But so I was really picky about it. I wanted to be picky about it, and it's funny, the people who were like poo-pooing it or just like reluctant about it, it's just it in the end, I'll admit I took it personally, just because it's like, so you've known me for a while, and I'm an asshole. No lie about that, really. But like, I'm not going to put my name on a turd. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like,
it's not like you're just kind of like shelling something out because you want to make a couple bucks.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, had any of the U.S. manufacturers approach me about making my own jewelry line, sure. It's not like I'm not making a ton of money off of this, and like, pretty much like not much at all at this first run, just to see how it goes. So. And I don't know if I ever will make a ton of money off it. This is a starting point, but it's none of them have approached me to do it, and this was Rata doing it. And Rata and I have been friends for years, but it's an opportunity, and it was something fun that now seeing it in my hands, I'm really happy with. So, even if it doesn't get a ton of orders, like, I'm still happy with where it is.
Well, I can see it as a definite starting point for it growing, because just. Like, I saw your demo pictures that you had online, and like it looked nice, but you couldn't really envision its potential until I saw that run that was all laid out with all the different stones, and like some of those combinations just look killer.
Yeah, like there's some of them where I'm like, I should have thought about it a little bit more, but whatever, I'll sell it. But there were a couple where I was just like, holy crap, like that stone is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really stoked on it. I hope to. We'll see how my clients, receive the reception. And I know there's a couple people that already really wanted stuff. So some of those stone combinations were purposeful for people that had asked me for stuff for custom orders. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked. And I think it'll just be different. So people use cabs, obviously, but most of the cabochon stuff tends to be in titanium and steel.
Yeah, it looks a little plain.
And it looks a little plain. And the overlay is what I really felt was going to help with it. And some of them, some of them are just like slight little things, like the Leliel design, which is just really two really thin little gold waves on top of the stone. Just add just enough to break it to break the design apart and add some flash. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm really, again, like I keep looking, like at certain points when I'm alone in the room, I keep looking at it.
Yeah.
Being like, I'm stoked on this.
I mean, that's
I literally
great, though.
got tears in my eyes when I saw it, and it was, I don't know, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing to see something, a first attempt that you've tried to do. And especially, I mean, Junior was really happy with my reaction. He kept asking, he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, man, I love it. Like, this is amazing. I'm super happy with it. Because, as we were talking, like, he said the same thing. Like, he was just like, it was just something so different. And the way he he was concerned about the way he interpreted my designs, because I draw like shit. That's why I'm a piercer, not a tattoo artist. But I think the combination, and after meeting him in person, not just talking to him over like messages and emails, I definitely see and get a good vibe from him in that sense, which helps me know more about him as an artist, like the vibe that he put out, and he's definitely interested in working with. We're already talking about next year's designs. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked on it overall. So anyone listening, tell your piercers to order Singularity jewelry by Luis Garcia through Dynamica Body Jewelry. But I think once people see it, like I'll get this run out, and then the 4 people that put in orders will get theirs, and hopefully start selling it and posting it. They'll start to see it there. Because it's funny, like a couple people definitely. We're like, oh, I just don't like the way it looks, and I don't think it'll sell. Well, you don't know it's going to sell.
I think when people say that, it's only because they can't.
Different.
It's different, but they can't envision it on a piercing yet because they see just the jewelry. Once they see it on a surface piercing or a cool ear piercing or something like that, like it's going to catch fire.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked. I liked the one that I got to use on Michael Angel, who's a local piercer who works for John Ross at Mean Street Tattoos just outside of Philadelphia. I did a conch rim. I would not call it what you want me to, Joltron. It's not a snonch. No.
He wants to call it a snonch?
Snonch is what Joel calls them.
Oh,
sorry,
please,
Joel.
Please don't call it that, Joel.
See? Ryan Ouellette. He's on my team. Get out of here with that. Anyway. Sorry, love you, Joltron. Hate the name. But the piece, the Leviata, was the design I used on it, and I really loved the way it turned out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's, it's the other thing, too, like, some of the designs are purposefully asymmetrical. The Talon's asymmetrical. A lot of people really liked that design. And if you guys are wondering what these look like, you can feel free to go to my Instagram and scroll down to when I posted the pictures for them during my reveal stuff. That one's, like, clean asymmetrical, and then the Leviata, I purposely wanted to be just off asymmetrical. And I think I was really happy with the way it turned out. So, yeah, we'll see. I think once they see it, like, for things like conches, even, like, helixes and surface piercings, I think they'll work great. Even lips, I think sometimes, like, a philtrum and stuff will work great.
Yeah,
So,
on a philtrum, I could totally see that looking awesome.
Yeah, so...
Or, like, paired nostrils.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think... the industry, while a lot of new designs come out, they're just inspired by other stuff and very similar. I always get a kick out when you see a design and it's just a bunch of beads around, and it's like, all right, I get it. I used to harass Micah Greenlay all the time when he first started Scylla, when it was just him. I was like, dude, I asked him to make me a septum piece, and I was like, dude, I don't want any beads. Leave the beads out. He's like, I don't know, man. Beads are my thing. And I'm like, man, please. And he did end up putting 2 beads on. I was like, fine, okay, 2 beads.
Yeah.
So I just wanted, like I said, I just wanted to do something different. I also didn't want anyone to point the finger and be like, "You copied this." Like, I didn't want any of that because people.
It definitely looks original. I've never seen anything like it. Especially that whole overlay idea. I would imagine. Unfortunately, you're probably going to see some people copying you, but
I've already seen CAD designs for one. Someone snuck a picture out, and you know what? I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get butthurt about it.
Yeah.
As far as the people making it, honestly, if they start doing that, it's kind of a compliment.
Yeah,
And they can change it.
Just to show that you had that good of an idea.
It'll be more the people that naysayed, that said that this stuff wouldn't sell and I don't like it. If they then start carrying the copies, that I won't get butthurt about, but I'll be like, yeah, you're full of shit, man. You just want to be the snoot that only wants to carry certain people, which I get. I have my preferences, but you know what? You shouldn't knock a new thing until you try it. You know, they're not expensive. I purposely tried to keep the prices decent on them. And not exorbitant. So, you know, you can order like 2 or 3 pieces, and if you have the right color like stone combination with color combination, you can go from there. So, you know, we'll see. I mean, whatever. People are always hesitant for new stuff. I expected that in some ways. It was just, you know, it was more people that I knew, and I was just like, really? But fine, whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I think it'll do decent. I think a lot of it too, because it's from an international company. A lot of people just have this weird thing, like it's not being made by children. It's not being made. It's it's being made by like a 30-something-year-old like father of like a family man here in Brazil who's been making jewelry for a long time, and he does good work and he takes criticism well, like, and he wants to like fix stuff and get better. So it's one of those things where I think people had a misconception because a lot of us have been like, American-made jewelry. And
I think people saw the Dynamica line as like, that's like a step below U.S. jewelry. But the day before I left for this conference, I got my big box of Dynamica jewelry. It's great looking stuff.
Yeah, it's really nice looking stuff. And like I said, he's, so I've gotten Dynamica stuff. I bought some at LBP before I went back, and just like any jewelry company, you're going to have your errors, and the Atenia design, which pretty much means Athena in Spanish, was designed by Rata, and it's like a cluster of marquee stones. And right away I was like, okay, that's amazing, a little pricey, but it's a lot of stones, and that looks great. And I sold it really quickly when I got back. I had someone be like, okay, yeah, I definitely want that. I'll be in to get it. And one of the stones came out, and they had a replacement to me within a week and a half from Brazil.
Yeah.
So, like, not a lot of companies can say that or do that. Like that's that commitment to quality in the way that it's done. So and that was what honestly made me feel better, because it was pretty much like around LBP that Rata asked me that. So after once I got home and that happened and I saw that, I was like, all right, I feel better about this whole idea. I'll admit I was a little hesitant at first, and I hadn't really spoken to Junior at that point yet. So yeah, it definitely was they're a good company. They stand by their product, and none of really haven't had any issue. I think a thread broke off of one other piece, which I've had happen with every single U.S. manufacturer at some point. Shit happens. It's how a company deals with it that's important, and that's why I was impressed with how they dealt with that.
Well, even like the top companies, like I have had to send back repairs for every single major company.
Yeah,
it's not like jewelry's invincible.
No, shit's gonna break sometimes. A stone's gonna fall out. You can't help it, and and most of them, I think, all of them guarantee it. It's just how they go about it. You know what I mean? And some of them do it better than others, for sure.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to like have a piece break and then you have to deal with like the full 6 to 8 week turnaround time for a replacement. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, and I mean, but this was like, and there were smaller companies starting out, and I'm sure a wait time would get longer. I don't know. Junior's pretty obsessive now that I've met him in person. But we'll see. I'm happy to be involved in it. I'm glad that they asked me to do it. And like I said, hey, I would have done it with any other manufacturer. I just don't think the U.S. manufacturers are interested in that.
Yeah.
I think they're busy with their own stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of the U.S. companies, they want their stuff to come out of their internal workshops rather than have like sponsorships.
But you think about it. It's funny because if you think about other industries, it's all about poster people selling stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And obviously the person they're using as a poster piece gets a cut of something. But and some companies obviously do design stuff, you know what I mean? Like Anatometal names their pieces after shops, you know what I mean? That don't necessarily have anything to do with the shops being designed, but they do name the pieces. BVLA names stuff after the people that order them a lot of the time. I think Body Gems does too. And a lot of other, companies do stuff like this. So I just think it's an interesting step to try out. Yeah, I mean, I guess we shouldn't flood the market with a lot of different people's jewelry lines. Though, you probably get some really interesting stuff. Speaking of Joltron earlier, I think he did design some stuff with Affinity. Oh no, Alchemy Adornments.
Alchemy, yeah.
Gold. We were talking about that. So there's people that are definitely trying to do it.
I think it would take a special kind of piercer, because I've had the offer from jewelry companies like, hey, we would love it if you designed something and we could maybe name it after you or your studio. And it's like, I'm not that guy. Like, I don't think in those kinds of terms. I can like take something pre-existing and find an application for it, but I'm not like the innovator for the jewelry design. But somebody like you or somebody like Joltron, where you have that deeper artistic creativity, can come up with some really cool stuff.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good... I mean, hopefully this will put that idea into people's heads. Because I think it'll bring a breath of fresh air into the industry. And I think we need that at this point. I'm not saying that we're stagnating, but just a lot of times the newer designs are just like, oh, okay, that's just this with this attitude.
You know what I like in it, too? You ever see, like, commercials for new food at Taco Bell? And it's basically like they just take the same 10 things and shuffle it around. And they're like, ooh, the new Gordita Chalupa burrito. And it's like, oh, okay.
The taco burrito, they just...
Yeah. That's what a lot of jewelry companies do. It's like, okay, put some beads on it, put a different gem on it.
Which is great, you know what I mean? In a lot of senses, they are pretty, and people obviously like it. People are buying it. But people do tend to, they're weird. Even clients can be weird about new stuff. But... I don't know. I think it was just a fun thing to do. Like, in the end, all said and done, I definitely had a lot of fun designing it. And once I got to see it and hold it in my hands, it was kind of an amazing thing. Like, it was definitely, like, awesome. So, and again, I'm really happy with the way it all turned out. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So where can people see this stuff online?
So you can check out these ends on my Instagram. That is at Luis G Piercing. So LUISG. Piercing, Piercing, on Instagram. That's going to probably be your best bet.
Does Dynamica have a website?
They don't really have a website.
Okay.
They work through their catalog, and they're really only wholesalers. Plus, I mean, it's funny because they do ordering through an Excel spreadsheet, and it's just this giant. They have so many options of things.
Yeah.
So it's like this giant...
It was a little daunting making that first order.
It's daunting at first, for sure. But actually, I thought it was daunting too, but then in the end, like, I did it from my phone super quick, super easy once you get the hang of it.
Yeah, it makes sense once you figure it out.
And it tabulates all the prices for you, which is awesome. So, yeah, I'm just too lazy to make my own spreadsheet for other stuff, as it's a pain in the butt.
Even though you only have 10 pieces.
No, I mean my own spreadsheet, like for ordering through other companies.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like it would be great if other companies did that. But their catalogs are way bigger. So, that's the best place to check it out would be my Instagram, so you can look at the pictures and see the story behind the designs. Each design is inspired by something in like my flavor of Nerd Kingdom. There's designs inspired by anime. There's designs inspired by just general space stuff. There's designs inspired by sci-fi shows. It's all very me. And I think when I first when I first showed people the pictures of stuff and just with no explanations, they were just like, oh, okay, all right. And then a lot of people, once they heard the stories behind each one and they made connections, for those of them that are nerds out there, they were definitely much more into it.
Yeah.
Each piece does have like a story. It's not...
It gives it a lot more personality for sure.
Yeah. So there was definitely that inspiration. So yeah, check it out on my Instagram. Save the pictures, show them to your piercers. As far as piercers, you can... get a wholesale catalog and wholesale order sheet through Dynamica. You can email dynamica.int@gmail.com. You can also check them out on Instagram. And all of when you go to my Instagram, there's links to that Instagram, and the email and everything's on there too if you don't want to be writing it down. So, yeah, you should check it out.
Cool. And coming soon to a shop near you, and mine too eventually. All right, so thanks for joining me, Luis. Thanks for taking the time, and thank you for listening to the show. I always appreciate it. If you have any questions or if you have any suggestions on guests or topics, feel free to email me at piercingwizard@gmail.com or reach out to me on Facebook. I'm on there as Ryan PBA, or you can like the page for the show, Piercing Wizard Podcast. I'll be back with another episode next week, and keep listening. For more information about the show, visit piercingwizardpodcast.com or like Piercing Wizard Podcast on Facebook. For more info about your host, visit precisionbodyarts.com or search Ryan PBA on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr. If you enjoy the show, you can subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcast, and Google Play. Music by Benny B. Blanco. Show copyright 2017, Precision Body Arts LLC, all rights reserved.